Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Your Millions. I am here today with the lovely Philip O'Rourke. He's a friend of mine. He is a confidant. We have developed this amazing relationship through his show, The Philip Show, where I was honored to be a guest. So you guys need to check out that show too on LinkedIn. And I'm trying to get my thoughts together because I'm so congested right now, but ignore that. I still showed up. I get A for effort, okay? So anyway, Facebook Live, welcome again to the Wake Up Your Million show. So my guest, Philip O'Rourke, is here with us today, and we're going to talk about just simply being you. We're going to talk about just being you and the importance of being you and how being you affects your success,
Mhm.
whether it's good or bad,
Mm.
or how it delays your success.
Yeah.
And the importance of being able to authentically identify who you are and not allowing society and other people to do it for you. So let's just get into it. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's an honor to have you because guys, when you check out the Philip show, he has this amazing entrance, soon as the show starts, he has these fun pictures of himself and then all of a sudden he opens his jacket and it says be you. And I was just like, how amazing is that?
Mm.
And every time I would watch one of his interviews, I look forward to you just going, you know, be you. So it got my attention. And I found myself thinking one night the importance, the simplicity of two words, be
Mhm.
you, and what that means to other people. And
Mm.
how does that play out in the entrepreneurial industry? And
Yeah.
especially for men and women of color.
Mm.
So I'm gonna just let you have it and tell me, you know, be you. What does it mean, Philip?
Yeah.
Help us, educate us.
Well, that listen, so that brand came about through my own journey. And if you go on my website and you see all of the phrases, those phrases were really to help me remember to be authentic, help me remember to be myself, help me to remember to not create a character that I perceive that people want, help me to be authentic. As a marketing and brand strategist, I deal with identity with brands all the time. And one of the things that I pair it to is in your personal life and in your business, specifically being entrepreneur. I always ask people, who is speaking? Who's talking? Who is saying that? The brand has a voice, but so do you. And what I found is if I am not comfortable, if I'm not confident with who is in here, it's very difficult to show up and be a brand because the voice has been skewed. It could be out of self-doubt. I could be overcompensating. I could be way too harsh. I could not want to build relationships because there's a lot of stuff that I need to unpack in here. And you said it when you opened up the show. Sometimes you're just unavailable. If you don't get the work done inside, sometimes you're unavailable for the door that might be opened because you just can't step into that space quite yet. There's a little healing that needs to happen. You had also mentioned, for a Black male and for minorities. And there's so many conversations in the world today. Everybody got something there's a whole new label for every single situation.
Amen.
I mean, and it's a lot. It's like, okay, so where do I fall in? Where do I not fall in? What is the truth? Who am I? Who am I really? When I go home, who is this person?
Right.
And specifically, as an African American man, looking at the news, it's like, okay, so how can I make it home today? How can I, what do I have to do? Who do I have to be? Who do I have to style step or, code switch with in order to make them comfortable with who I am? So
To
be you.
simply secure your tomorrow, you know,
Listen,
to
and,
secure
and
your tomorrow.
And a lot of times, unless you are a minority, and people are still kind of on the fence with if they believe that's the case in the United States now.
Mm,
People are still on the fence with like, I don't think that's really the experience. I think that's just a couple. But unless you've experienced that, you really don't know
right,
the trauma, if you will. You don't know the trauma of nothing really happening, but you see this and now you're terrified.
right,
Because those kinds of things happen more often than I think people would like to say, but it definitely happens within our minds. It
right,
happens within our conversations. It happens within our communities. It's how we navigate. It's
right,
how we've been positioned to navigate, and that's kind of like on guard. Can't do this. Got to go here. Can't. But I was walking the other day. I was walking in New York with my friend. It was a very nice neighborhood. Very nice. It was so. It was. We were just taking a walk, and I was like, let me put my hood down. You know what I mean? Like, because
right,
I was very conscious of the stereotype of, you know what, let me be not threatening and put my hood down because I didn't want there to be any situation. But
right.
but all of that goes back to, who are you? And
Who are you?
have you found that person? And can you be proud of that
And
person?
can you be
Mm,
proud of that person? Now, speaking from a woman's point of view, especially an African American woman point of view, I truly have suffered in silence from not understanding who I was.
mm,
And then when I was on the brink of understanding who I was, I would have another woman come and tell me, no, that's not it. And they would do it indirectly. So I'll go back to my nonprofit days and I'm working and I had this boss. She oversaw a certain department when I was working for the YMCA. I'm gonna just say it.
work for
And
the
I was in my latter 20s, but I have always had a fascination with wigs and extensions of hair. So this particular day, I wore like an extended ponytail. And you guys have been pretty much seeing me go back to that style the past month because that's my junk. Listen, an extended ponytail and a hoop earring, that's my junk.
That's it. That's your brand. You got
That's
it.
my brand. And then my other brand is a lace front.
Wear it
Yes,
out.
that's
Got
my other brand.
yeah.
But I now show up confidently wearing extensions because I had to identify who I was and not allow other people to do it. And I remember she walked up to me one day. We were getting ready for a meeting and she touched my extended ponytail and as if it was nasty on her fingers.
I touched it
And
though.
then she proposed a question and it I didn't know it was a question at first, but she was just like, any authenticity?
Mm,
She thought she was referring to the extension, but because I was wearing the extension, you're talking to me. So
mm,
now I'm questioning
yeah.
who I am. I'm
Yeah.
questioning if I'm authentic. Does
Mm,
this cause me to lose my identity? Does my
mm,
identity decrease by
mhm.
her suggesting that wearing artificial hair depletes me, erase me in some form? So that messed me up. Like it took me a while to really, really come to grips with it. I was like, I'm gonna wear my own hair. I'm gonna do all of that. But then a year or so later, I was just like, what role does she play in my life that gives her the audacity to
Mhm.
believe that any accessory that I put on my body decreases the value of the woman I am, the person I am, and how I define who I am?
And I think that's deep. And I don't think people really, and I'm still learning, because we all have our own journey. So you never just arrive. You're always, growing, you're always
Growing.
changing, you're always doing something. So life is a journey, and so is self discovery. But I think I didn't really understand how powerful my perception of your opinion is. how much, like, so you're talking about it, and she could bitch then, I mean, you could just be like, girl, whatever, but there was something valuable in how she said what she said that was like kind of stunted you for a second, and
And
it's
I
like,
was young. I
yeah.
was still developing.
And I think those kinds of interactions, those can stay with us for a very long time.
Yeah.
They can change our responses, they can change your hairstyle, they can change your why, they can change,
The
how
trajectory of your life and your career.
you could begin to be less confident. It's going to go back into those doors. We're talking about entrepreneurship. It's like, who is stepping into the room? Are you confident to step into this room? Who is that? And then, what is it? What is the brand? What are you doing? But a lot of times we don't really think of those micro things as these huge stones and these huge boulders that we really have to kind of tear down. And a lot of it is because we place a lot of value on what we perceive someone's opinion about us to be, like
That
how
is
I
so true.
internalize it.
That is
Yeah.
so true. You spoke earlier about your brand having a voice and you having a voice. So,
Mhm,
to all the entrepreneurs that's watching us right now, and you're like, oh my God, I can relate to Philip, I can relate to Angelica. They even have a term for it now, a clinical term, and it's imposter syndrome.
mhm,
And you show up as somebody else. We know code switching. A lot of professional entrepreneurs, especially African American entrepreneurs, we walk into rooms and then we put on our hello
mhm.
voice, you
Yeah.
know, and they call it code switching. So let's talk about your brand voice versus your voice and how that relates to entrepreneurs who are watching and listening, who are building their brands and they're stepping out as a brand.
Mhm,
What are some things that they need to know and identify early on, and even if your business or your brand is seasoned,
mhm.
that you can start checking and doing like doing a checklist really quick on your brand voice versus your voice.
So, and that's a very, very good question. And for me, it's twofold. They're the nuts and bolts of the brand. What is the brand? What is it trying to say? What am I trying to convey? But beyond that, it is, what is my character? What is the character of this brand? What is the character of my company? Is my company consistent? Do I show up? Is my company kind? What is happening when it comes to the interpersonals? Because a lot of times I can know everything about whatever my brand is. Let's use the Phillips show. I can know everything about that, but the way that my show is going to be consistent and the character that shows up is going to be me.
Right.
And that plays into the brand. Your brand voice isn't just copy and just text and just colors. It's also, what is the quality? What is your brand environment? And a lot of that goes to personality and inner culture, inside culture. And
Mm,
I'll just umbrella everything and say it's really character. What is your character?
mm,
Where are you self-conscious?
right.
Again, where are you overcompensating? Where are you shrinking down? Because
Mm,
you're going to end up doing that with your brand. And again, those doors that are supposed to be open for you, it's going to be hard for you personally to step into places that people want your brand, but you don't feel like you're big enough to go. You know,
right.
so I would say, do some internal work. Do some internal work. Know who is speaking, and my voice will continue to speak for whatever brand I put out there because I'd be the spokesperson. So, however I'm showing up, that's how my brand just showed up.
Right.
And
Right.
I think you were talking about imposter syndrome, and I think one of the things we over evaluate everybody's confidence in that same room.
Mm,
We, for some reason, perceive everybody, and I'm just using general, not all the time. I don't want to use absolutes, but sometimes you'll go into these rooms and you got to do this, and you just feel like I'm not qualified to be here, or I feel like I'm faking it, or
mm,
I just don't know. And a lot of people will say that they could be CEOs and they feel like I feel like I have imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm not really who I say I am. And I think that goes back to perspective. It's like, well, who do you think I thought you were? Because everybody is we're all on this same journey, and you're not walking
Right.
into the room and there's like a room full of perfect people. You know,
Right.
everybody, and this is one thing I'll tell everybody, whether you have a business or you're just, playing video games, everybody is figuring it out.
Everybody.
Everybody,
Literally.
everybody is figuring it out. And that's why BU to me is so important because it really makes you center and it comes back to the core. It comes back to you. Wherever you go, a pastor friend of mine said, wherever you go, that's where you are. And
Mm,
I can build a million brands, but if Philip keeps showing up, I'm showing up with everything that I have. I'm showing up
right.
with integrity. I'm showing up with my character. I'm showing up with how I treat people. I'm showing up with inconsistencies or consistencies. What's going on in here that will help to move your brand forward, and anything else that you're doing forward. But it's always a journey. And yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love how you said it's about the character. So a lot of people, and I won't say a lot of people, I'll just say within my journey of working with entrepreneurs, I've noticed that a lot of entrepreneurs do not do the internal work
Yeah.
because understanding your characteristics and your personality is that's internal work.
Hmm.
That's on you.
Yeah.
It's not it is not your audience
Hmm.
responsibility. It's not the consumer's responsibility.
Yeah.
That's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will show up in their businesses and their brands. And although a brand is what the people say about you, marketing is what you say
Hmm.
about you. Branding is what the people say about you.
Yeah.
So when you show up and people are uncertain of who you are, that means that you have not done the internal work.
Well, there's internal work there too, and that's why I said it's twofold.
Right.
Sometimes people haven't done their own brand research. You
Their
know,
own brand
I
research.
know, yeah, your logo looks great, but what's your story here? Why do I
Ooh,
care? And I think if people
yeah.
started asking those questions like they're a consumer, like, why do I care? Why do I care? And what's your story? And how am I compelled to want either your product, your services, your coaching?
Right.
Why should I care? And I think if people don't craft their stories in that way, they're really doing, and some people may just not know how to do that. That's why there's brand coaches out there. There's all these
Right.
things because storytelling isn't easy, but remember the why do I care? Why does anyone care about this car? Tell me why. What's the emotional component to me? Or why does anyone care about, my podcast, my television show? Like
Right.
why?
Why?
So yeah, like why? Why are we here?
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Well, I think if people
I,
don't, I think there is internal work to do, and that can be very heavy to hear. Nobody, I mean, I know we're in the time now of, therapy is becoming something that is a little bit less taboo
right.
and people can go, but I can
Especially for us.
listen, but it can still be very intimidating, and
Right.
and it can be very fearful, and there can be a defeatist mentality of saying, "Oh, I got to go to therapy," "Oh, I got to do this." But there's work that we have to do internally so we can show up externally. In addition, if you're a brand and you have a company, there's work that you need to do to identify what that is and why this is important to the people. What's the passion behind this? What's the story?
Mm,
It's not just a product. It's not just a TV show. It's not just a T-shirt. Why am I so passionate about it? And why do they care? Why would they care about this? So I
mm,
think that it's a duality to me. And it all stems from there's internal work to do, and then there's some branding internal work to do. You know,
right.
you got to figure out the why of both. You have to figure
Right,
out both.
right. And Facebook Live, listen, guys, this is a really good discussion. And it's not always easy to have this discussion with other individuals. And that's why I felt, Philip, it was so important to bring you on to talk about the BU topic because people struggle to have vulnerable discussions
Mm,
in a transparent manner
mhm,
because we don't want people to believe that we don't know who we are or
mhm,
that we struggle with who we are. Now, my next question to you is, do you believe that as entrepreneurs, we show up in many different areas
Mhm.
because, like you said, there's the brand voice and then there's our voice. But then there's the mother, there's the sister, there's the
Mhm.
mentor, there's the podcaster.
Right.
We start to wear many hats. And this is why this dialogue, this conversation is so important to me because we have to own it
Yeah.
across the board,
Yeah.
regardless of the stages and the places and the responsibilities and the titles and the positions.
Yeah.
We want you to be you so that you can own it, that you own it across the board, wherever you are, that you show up authentically and confidently you.
I love that you said authentic because that's really, that's really what it is. And I think it's okay wearing different hats. I think there is a level of appropriateness that we have to have with
Right.
each hat that we wear.
Right.
So me speaking here very authentically is different than me speaking in a business meeting because the two would not be appropriate, the context wouldn't be appropriate.
Wouldn't be a
Or
problem.
me speaking here is different. Well, I guess it would be the same kind of because I am kind of consistent all the way around. But but it's different than when I'm speaking to my brother or my friends because it's not appropriate to speak to them like I'm in a business meeting.
Right.
So I think that we can be the best version of ourselves when we give ourselves permission to be authentic, but appropriate. No matter what that means. Like I give myself permission to remind myself to be myself, be authentic, and
Ooh,
discover what that means for me.
right.
Be appropriate because you can't, I don't know, some people when you use kind of words like that, they'll start to go, well, I'm going to show up like this. It's like, that is you in this scenario. It's the same person, but you can't wear those flip-flops. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be appropriate.
Right. You have
So
to be appropriate.
you got
I
to be
warn
appropriate.
people all the time when you get to know me, I'm straight up hood. You know, you'll start to hear certain jargon and ebonics, and you'll think to yourself, Angelica, but that is me.
That is also you. And
That is also me.
what I would tell you, I would assume, and this is just how I think of people, your character doesn't change.
No,
Your
no,
integrity does not change.
no.
These things are tools, and there's a word that I'm missing, but these are like stones within us that we have worked to plant. If you're integrous, it's like I've concentrated on making sure that I do the right thing. You
They're
know,
assets.
assets, thank you. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I concentrated with the skill of trying to be consistent. So it doesn't matter what scenario I go into, I may have a different hat on, but my character will be the same. My integrity will be the same. The who of me will be the same. I also have some stuff to work through, but that part is on lockdown and it is very consistent. And if I
Very.
don't do those things in like if in our friendship, if I do something that is like for Philip personally, I'm like, ooh, that was off brand. What are you doing? Because there's something different here. That's not what I remember as consistent. So, with all the hats that we wear, with all the jobs that we have, with all the clothes that we can change, with all the wigs we can put on, with all of the, listen, you are not changing
No,
because our wardrobe changes or our scenario changes. Your character and your integrity remains the same.
remains the
Give,
same.
give yourself permission to explore all the facets of you and know that you are enough when you step into these spaces because you, just like everybody else, we're all in here figuring it out. It's like we're all just in here figuring it out. So that's what I would say.
I love that. You said it, I am enough. I think that is another affirmation that we can all carry with us on a daily basis, like stick it in your purse, stick it in your wallet, put it in your bosom where your grandma kept her money. Do whatever you got to do, but carry that with you because for me, I constantly have to tell myself I am enough. And on a different note, recently God had to tell me I was enough because
Mhm.
I still struggle
Yeah.
with being myself.
Mhm.
And it stems from childhood trauma.
Mhm.
And when you're not accepted as a child and you are constantly being told you're trying to be something that you're not.
Mm,
I would go to school and being a slightly fair-skinned woman, and they would tell me, "Oh, you want to be white." So then I had to question if I wanted to be white. I was afraid to wear wigs because their hair was, now we have this beautiful, mane that they give us. But before it was that silky, straight, hair, but I still wore it. But then I was called an Oreo. Listen, I went through the ringers. And
mm,
these people really, really forced
yeah.
me in a corner to say, who am I?
Hmm.
So now I can proudly stand and say, I am a Black woman.
Mm,
I am a
mm,
Black woman who happens to love wigs. I am a Black woman who love an extended ponytail. I am a Black woman who show up to make a difference every single day.
yeah.
I am
Yeah.
a Black woman representing a culture that other people look down on,
Mm,
that has been oppressed, repressed, and depressed. But
mm,
yet I still rise every day with the resilience and the confidence to say, I'm Black and I'm here. So
yeah.
they forced me
Yeah.
to identify who I was. And here's the funny thing, Facebook, I could have chose a different identity.
Hmm.
I could have walked around and said, "Oh, I have European white in me and half Indian," and I could have made up a fictitious story, which I
Hmm.
haven't done ancestries.com and did my bloodline or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with that. But what I am saying is the choice that you make
Hmm.
that identifies who you are. And when you show up as that person, own it. Own it. And I'm going to give you three things that helped me.
Hmm.
I said, Angie, name three things. How do you define yourself? Three
Hmm.
words. I gave myself three words. And here's the thing, these three words change all the time. For
Hmm.
the longest, I can tell you, I am driven, I am ambitious, and I am a person of integrity. That was in my 20s. I was just like, I'm her, I'm her. But as I grew into the woman, into the mother, into the entrepreneur, into the boss,
Hmm.
and to the CEO, and to the creative, it started to change. I have
Yeah.
to constantly say, Angie, who are you? Even moving from Tampa, Florida, into a foreign land of Houston, Texas, where the culture is different, the people are different. I now have to tap into my identity and be me and not try and fit in here and wear a cowboy hat and some boots. I'm
Ugh.
not doing it. I have to authentically be me.
Yeah.
And I'm back to asking myself, Angie, who are you?
Mm.
I am a Tampanian. I am a Floridian.
Look, I
I'm
was
not
like,
trying to come here and pretend to be a Houstonian.
you
I'm
better.
letting you know I'm not from here.
Yeah.
And I'm taking ownership of that and I'm doing it with pride.
Hmm.
I believe that when we can socially intertwine with each other, there's beauty in that.
Absolutely.
Why would I come here and try and be something that I'm not? You guys may need a little Tampa flavor. You may need a little bit of this hood
And
ratchet.
and from my perspective, you would be trying to fit into something that you're perceiving, and that might not even be the same people that we look at are going through the same process we are going through.
Right.
So our perception of how others perceive us is powerful. There's this expectation. It sounded like you were saying, there's this expectation to change, but I'm going to fight against that. When you're younger, when people were talking to you, there was this expectation, probably internally, for you to make changes so people wouldn't say anything. So there's all of these expectations that we have, and I think it's the journey of it all and remembering, okay, yes, who am I today? But it doesn't change the who.
The who.
The who. It doesn't change the who of you. And again, we can have many hats. We can do all of these things. You were talking about, as your experiences grew and your opportunities grew, the definition of what you could do and who was stepping into these places, your experiences also change. So we really have to give ourselves permission to say, I know who I am and I'm always changing, but
And
there's
you're
certain
growing, you're
and you're growing.
evolving.
And there are certain things that we'll just have to check. It's like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm doing these things because I'm doing it out of a response to somebody else.
Exactly.
And that is where, for my journey, that's where I always had to say, well, wait a minute, which Philip is doing this? Am I doing this because I'm doing it, or am I doing it because I think you want me to do? It's like, which one is going on here? So it's totally okay to remember that you're on that journey. It's totally fine for you to take time and say, who are you today? And I'll tell you, when I for BU again, after I created it, it really helped me. I would put it on and I would stand in the mirror and I reminded myself. It was a reminder, like, okay, 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 I hear you. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. And what I noticed was, and you had mentioned that it's such a short phrase, but it's powerful, and it doesn't have any bells, it doesn't have any whistles, it doesn't have any qualifiers, it doesn't. So whoever it
No
is,
pomp and stance. It's just be.
it's like, hey, just be yourself, be you. And I was walking downtown one day and somebody said, I love that shirt. And I was like, okay, and we stopped and have a conversation. But the power of simplicity and the power of permission to just exhale and just be reminded that you're fine, you're on a journey, and it's okay to be yourself, to be you.
It's perfectly okay to be you. And I'm more confident now than I've ever been in my
Mhm.
life in just simply being Angelica. Just
Mm,
simply being Angelica.
yeah.
And I don't know if it came with age or if it just through my journey, because there are stages, there's levels, and then there's stages. And
Mhm.
every time I needed to go back and reevaluate those three words to define myself, once I felt like I had conquered or mastered those three, I moved on
Mm,
to the next three.
yeah.
So, am I still driven? Absolutely. Didn't change. Am I still ambitious? Absolutely. Am I still a woman of integrity? Absolutely. And I gave myself those three words in my 20s.
Then now you can say, and I'm also dot dot
Yeah,
dot.
and that's what I do. Like every time and I am also this. So
Hmm.
I remember when Tenacious was one of them, and I had to be tenacious because I came from nothing. So it
Mm,
was just like, I don't have time to tiptoe and do it that way. I got to get out here like a lion.
mm,
And I got to get out here and handle my business. So when it took me some time to do that,
mm,
and one of my friends, Jermaine Moody, told me just recently, he said, when I started the World Changers History Makers, and like you, it was a reminder that I posted on LinkedIn for years. Yeah, my LinkedIn was deleted. I know it says I started it in October, but no, I had one before then, years before then. And it was something I did to remind myself. Again, remember I told you about that little Black girl that turned into a Black woman who wanted to show up and be a Black woman and make a difference in the world. It was my reminder that
mm,
I'm a world changer and a history maker. It doesn't matter if it's just my world
mm,
and
mm,
those who are within that population or community of my world. And then God used that little simple saying that was for me. And now it has been able to bless so many others. It's almost as if the statement was given life,
mm,
not just to me now, but to others. Every speaker who stepped on that platform, every engaged listener who has tuned in on First Sundays, it's turned into something. And going back to Jermaine, he told me when I talked to him about me doing it, he said it's a power move. And
mm,
it took me back to the word tenacious.
mm.
And I have conversations sometimes, and it takes me back to a younger version of myself when I was trying to overcome that or master that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this, audience, because it's okay to look back and realize how far you've come.
Absolutely.
You may not think that you're taking the necessary strides or making the necessary moves, but every day that you show up and just simply be you,
Hmm.
there's progress.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a
It's
win.
a win. It's a
It's a
win.
win.
So, Philip, before we go, I want you to speak directly to our entrepreneurial audience because listen, Wake Up Your Millions, we interview prominent men and women in business and we talk to them about their secrets to success. And I believe being you is one of your secrets to success. So I want you to leave some words of inspiration for our Wake Up Your Million listeners out there on how to simply be you.
Mm. Yeah, one of the journey isn't always pretty, you
Mhm.
know. The journey isn't always easy and it's not always hard. I think if we and you all that are out there, if you take a minute to say, what am I doing with my authenticity? What am I doing with this? Because I always say that everybody has a story, and everybody's story has the power to change someone's life. If you stop and you take those authentic looks at who you are, your character, and all of these things, doors will continue to open. You'll be in the right places. When it comes to doing a business, you'll have the stick to itiveness, if you will, to keep going, to keep trying, to know that you can, but don't let fear of the who be what stops you at the door. Don't let yourself take away your permission to try again. Take away your permission to find out who you are. Take away your permission to show up and take up space because you belong in that space. So never be scared of a door that was opened for you, and do some internal work and find your who. Yeah, find your who.
Okay, you gave a whole sermon just then. I mean, that is so good. That is so good. Wow. And that was on the spot. I feel like radio personalities, when a rapper comes in the room and you just go like spit something and you put them on the spot. Listen, in the speaker realm, in the speaker world, you just spit something.
We freestyling courage here. We're freestyling courage. Yeah.
Oh, encourage. Yes, you got bars, baby. You got bars. All right, audience, it's your girl Angelica here, the host of Wake Up Your Millions. And we just had an amazing dialogue, conversation, lecture by the one and only Philip O'Rourke, the founder of The Philip Show, the creator of The Philip Show, the executive producer of The Philip Show, and the host of The Philip Show. So you guys need to go and check that out. He's also a brand strategist and a marketing. Wait, I don't want to botch it up. Tell the people.
I'm a branding and marketing strategist.
That's what he is, guys. So if you need to work on your brand, you are confused about your identity. Trust me, I hired him. He's currently working with me to rebrand so I can bring you guys my fabulous self 5.0. You'll see that soon. But so you guys need to work with Philip. And Philip, tell them where they can find you, your social media links, phone number, website.
Sure, you can find me at thephilipshow.com or philipo'rourke.com. And I'm Philip O'Rourke on all those platforms. So
All platforms. Philip O'Rourke. I always wished I had one of those powerful ass names. Like, sort of kind of demands that you.
is that what it does? Amen.
Yeah, yeah, it does. O'Rourke.
I know I always get them
O'Rourke.
in. I know I always get them in. If they see my name and I walk into the room, they're always looking for somebody a lot lighter with red hair because it's very eye. So
It gives ginger.
yeah, yeah. And I confuse the people every time. Yeah. Every
It
time.
gives it gives what's his name?
Lucky
Prince,
Charm.
Prince
It's,
William, not brother.
oh,
Art,
Harry.
art, yeah. It gives
Yeah.
Harry
Yeah.
O'Rourke
Yeah.
royalty.
Mm,
Royalty.
I take it. I'll
You
take
like
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, we're out of here for today. Enjoy your hump day. And don't forget to catch me here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. on Facebook Live and learn how you can wake up your millions. Until next time, see you later. Bye.